Hi, I'm Charles Liddell, the Australia Chair here at CSIS, and I'm pleased to welcome everyone to our inaugural Pacific Policy Pulse edition, and how lucky we are to have Greg Moriarty, the Australian Secretary of Defense, here with us today. You've flown in all the way from Hawaii. You didn't come straight from Australia on this. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were here to do this week? What was the agenda? What was top of mind for you?
Yeah, great to be with you, Charlie. I was really here this week in Washington to touch base with the administration, the Pentagon in particular, about the really ambitious defence engagement agenda that we have with the United States following last year's OSMIN. A lot going on with force posture initiatives, and we're doing a lot around swapping notes on developments in the Indo-Pacific, maintain a balance of power in that region that serves our interests, but also the AUKUS program, both Pillar 1 and Pillar 2, so the nuclear-powered, conventionally armed submarines, just wanting to make sure that we are on track, that the United States is aware of the commitments Australia is making in terms of investment, in terms of personnel, developing the infrastructure to, in particular, allow the United States rotation of Virginia-class submarines to Perth from 2027 onwards. It is an ambitious timeline, but we are both the United States and Australia are committed to making AUKUS a success.
Terrific. Well, for everyone who might not be tracking quite as closely as you and I are on this, right? So last year, optimal pathway forward for AUKUS, especially for Pillar 1, U.S. and British submarines starting to show up rotationally in Perth as early as 2027. So a lot of work.
And visits, extended visits before then. In fact, later this year, we'll have U.S. submarines coming down, and we will do, for the first time with our U.S. partners, some more significant sustainment operations on U.S. submarines, and really looking forward to growing the skills of our industrial base and our naval personnel to support those submarines.
So look, you actually started this by giving us not just AUKUS, right, because there's a lot more force posture, a really ambitious suite of force posture initiatives. You sit atop Russell, the Australian Department of Defense. It's one of the questions that we'd love to ask here. What keeps you up at night? First of all, for the department, what do you have to kind of pay most attention to?
We are working on a national defence strategy, which the Australian government is intending to launch in the first half of this year, building on a defence strategic review. That really says that our strategic circumstances are really significantly changed and deteriorated. And so the Australian Defence Force needs to restructure and reposture to meet the challenges. In those circumstances, the US alliance is more important than ever. And we need to work closely with the United States to ensure that we make a positive contribution to Indo-Pacific stability. So what's keeping me awake is how do we drive that agenda? AUKUS, the submarines are a key part of that, but I'm also very focused on the development of longer range strike capabilities for the Australian Defence Force, including the production of more sophisticated munitions in Australia. I'm focused on how do we turbocharge our innovation systems and defence procurement to more rapidly introduce capabilities. I'm focused on how we grow a workforce, both military and civilian, and a defence industry workforce, to take advantage of the technologies that we're going to need to maintain our capability edge in the region. And regional partnerships, working with partners like Japan, India, with the ASEAN countries, and in all of that coordinating closely with the United States to make sure that the countries of the region realise that the United States, Australia, our other allies and partners are a force for stability across the region.
Yeah, we've got ambition. Now we need execution, implementation, and resourcing on all sides.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right, so really, final question for you, really hard one. You must be really thrown off here. It's snowing here, so we know that this is summer holiday in Australia. It's a heck of a summer holiday with you here on Business Matters. But one thing that I'm always interested in is, what are you reading beyond the briefing papers? If you have half a second to read things beyond the briefing papers.
Incredibly insightful briefing papers.
Obviously.
That I've obviously spent a lot of time on. Look, I've just been finishing off a book on Does ASEAN Matter? An insider's view by former Indonesian Foreign Minister Marty Natalegawa. Really interesting to make sure that we continue to understand the perspectives of really important Southeast Asian countries. I've also been finishing off the book The Avoidable War by our
Ambassador Rudd.
And for a middle power like Australia, how we can contribute, again, with our alliance partners and other partners to ensuring that what is a challenging period ahead in the Indo-Pacific, that competition is managed and doesn't spill into conflict. So these are really important issues, and they're ones where that deep partnership with the United States is more important than ever.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much for joining us here as we inaugurate the Pacific Policy Pulse series of briefings that we're doing. Appreciate your time. Safe travels onward.
Very good to see you, Charlie, and thank you for all the work that CSIS does to make sure that both here in the United States but internationally, people have material to help inform them about these really important challenges that the world faces and how allies and partners can work effectively together.
Absolutely.
Thank you.